The Fortunate Foundlings by Eliza Haywood. Chapter 1 contains the manner in which a gentleman found children, his benevolence towards them, and what kind of affection he bore to them as they grew up, with the departure of one of them to the army. It was in the ever memorable year 1688 that a gentleman, whose real name we think proper to conceal under that of Dorilaus, returned from visiting most of the polite courts of Europe, in which he had passed some time divided between pleasure and improvement. The important question, if the throne were vacated or not by the sudden departure of the unfortunate King James, was then upon the tapis, on which, to avoid interesting himself on either side, he forbore coming to London, and crossed the country to a fine seat he had about some 40 miles distant, where he resolved to stay as privately as he could till the great decision should be made, and the public affairs settled in such a manner as not to lay him under a necessity of declaring his sentiments upon them. He was young and gay, loved magnificence and the pomp of courts, and was far from being insensible of those joys which the conversation of the fair sex affords, but had never so much enslaved his reason to any one pleasure as not to be able to refrain it. Hunting and reading were very favourite amusements with him, so that the solitude he was now in was not at all disagreeable or tedious to him, though he continued in it some months. A little time before his departure, an accident happened which gave him an opportunity of exercising the benevolence of his disposition, and though it then seemed trivial to him, proved of the utmost consequence to his future life, as well as furnished matter for the following pages. As he was walking pretty early one morning in his garden, very intent on a book he had in his hand, his meditations were interrupted by an unusual cry, which seemed at some distance, but as he approached a little arbour, where he was sometimes accustomed to sit, he heard more plain and distinct, and on his entrance was soon convinced whence it proceeded. Just at the foot of a large tree, the extensive boughs of which greatly contributed to form the arbour, was placed a basket, closely covered on the one side, and partly open on the other to let in the air. Though the sounds which still continued to issue from it left Dorilaus no room to doubt what it contained, he stooped down to look, and saw 2 beautiful babes, neatly dressed in swaddling clothes. Between them and the pillow they were laid upon was pinned a paper, which he hastily taking off, found in it these words: To the generous Dorilaus, irresistible destiny abandons these helpless infants to your care. They are twins, begot by the same father and born of the same mother, and of a blood not unworthy the protection they stand in need of, which if you vouchsafe to afford, they will have no cause to regret the misfortune of their birth, or accuse the authors of their being. Why they seek it of you in particular, you may possibly be hereafter made sensible. In the meantime, content yourself with knowing they are already baptized by the names of Horatio and Louisa. The astonishment he was in at so unexpected a present being made him may more easily be imagined than expressed, but he had then no time to form any conjectures by whom or by what means it was left there. The children wanted immediate succour, and he hesitated not a moment whether it would become him to bestow it. He took the basket up himself, and running as fast as he could with it into the house, called his maidservants about him, and commanded them to give these little strangers what assistance was in their power, while a man was sent among the tenants in search of nurses proper to attend them. To what persons soever, said he, I am indebted for this confidence, it must not be abused. Besides, whatever stands in need of protection merits protection from those who have the power to give it. This was his way of thinking, and in pursuance of these generous sentiments he always acted. The report of what happened in his house being soon spread through the country, there were not wanting several who came to offer their service to the children, out of which he selected 2 of whom he heard the best character, and were most likely to be faithful to the trust reposed in them, giving as great a charge and as handsome an allowance with them as could have been expected.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?